moment and do it in front of the home fans. Just a moment I'll never forget.
Massive result, this, Jamie, in the bigger context of the title race as well.
Huge, yes. I mean, I mentioned it just before I tried to get down to Gary, and that we keep talking about Arsenal, Manchester City. There's still a long way to go. But you're almost waiting for City to kick in to be the City that we know so well. And it just feels like this might be the season where they're just not quite themselves for lots of different reasons. I'm sure we'll get to that as well. Maybe the role of Haaland in the team as well. But it's just... it's not the Man City of old, so this idea that what they've done to Liverpool maybe a couple of times in title races, yeah, I'm not sure it will happen just for the fact that it feels like a different City that we're watching right now.
A lot of football still to be played, but City are dropping points at what for them must be an alarming rate. That's 5 away games already this season which they've dropped points, 5 throughout all of last season, and 3 successive away defeats for City for the first time since 2016. We heard him address the Haaland situation, if we can call it that. He said it's a difficult team to fit into. What do you make of this, the way this is developing? He hasn't had a shot today or a touch in the opposition box.
If you got Erling Haaland sitting here, or any striker sitting here, they want one thing: they want the ball quick, early, accurate. They would, if he was sitting here and you would say to him, how would you want to change it? He would say, I want Mahrez to get it out of his feet and hit me, because he's got great movement in the box, Haaland. Or I want Jack Grealish not to have so many touches, get out of his feet and whip it in early. I want midfield players to do what De Bruyne does. Sometimes just the very best ball you can give a striker is a first-time pass. The second best ball you can give him is a two-touch, as a midfield player, receive it and bang. What they don't want is to receive the ball, touch, go square, get it back, and he's gone, he's come back out. Haaland is a top striker. If you look at his movement in the box, I'm surprised that they don't do it, because the wide players have got are more than capable of knowing where he is, knowing an area to hit. They wouldn't have to practice it. That guy's got incredible movement, and he's a unit. He's a big, physical, strong young man. I mean, he'll attack things, he'll bully most centre halves, and he's extremely athletic. It has to be delivered quicker to him.
Was he starting to look frustrated out there, Jamie?
He was very frustrated, yeah. And I've felt this even when he was scoring all his goals at the start of the season. He's obviously still well ahead in the top goal-scoring ranks. But I think we're only seeing 60% of Erling Haaland. You think of that goal he scored at West Ham on the first game of the season, where there's space in behind, he makes that run. Now, I know that's not there that often because of the way City play, but he's come from a league in Borussia Dortmund where it's a counter-attacking league and it's end-to-end, and you see that blister and pace that he's got. We don't see it. And he may have actually picked the wrong club to actually get the best out of him. You're laughing, but what I'm saying is we're not seeing everything of Erling Haaland. And Manchester City now, not because of Erling Haaland, we can say they're a different team, but they've scored exactly the same amount of goals. So we scored 25 Premier League goals, but Man City as a team have still scored the same amount of goals. But they've conceded more, and it's far easier to counter-attack them as well. So they're a different team and a lesser team with Erling Haaland in the team. But again, it's not his fault. Manchester City as a team will not play end-to-end football. It's not Pep Guardiola's way. His players don't have the energy or the power or the pace to play end-to-end. They build up slowly and they push the opposition back to the edge of the box and they play from there. And when they lose it, they win it back quickly and they keep people hemmed in. Now, Erling Haaland will still score 25 league goals. A lot of those are coming across and he's putting it in. But we're not seeing the full package of what this player can do because of the team that he's actually gone to. And that's
but it's impossible to see the full package, though, because when teams play against Man City, they go deep. Do you know what I mean? We go deep because Man City...
what Jamie's talking about is I'm coming short on the halfway line.
Yeah, but we're talking about a striker who scored 25 goals.
He won't get that in this team.
Today, he didn't have his greatest game. I'll agree with you. He didn't have no touches in the opposition box. I get that, but this is what the Premier League is. He knows what Man City do. They dominate the ball, like you've said. They recycle it and wait for the space in the box. I would understand your argument more if he'd only scored 15 goals. But he scored 25 goals, so he's still getting the numbers.
I'm not criticising him. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is, him as a full package, when we're talking about one of the best players in the world, I think he's that good. He scored 25 goals. We're actually probably only seeing 60 or 70% of him because we're not seeing that power, that blistering pace. And I get it because of the way Manchester City play. But we've got to come back to the fact that no matter how many goals he scores as an individual, the team's bigger than any individual. Manchester City have scored exactly the 53. Same amount of goals this season. So whether he's got
50% of them.
It's just different, isn't it?
But is it better, Mike?
But it's not better, is it?
It's different.
But is it better?
It's not about being better or not. We'll see at the end of the season.
It's not better. It's not better.
It's different. It doesn't look as good. It's not as tidy on the eye. It's not coming into the false nine and playing off different positions. It's not that. But in front of goal, it's potent.
The attack hasn't changed. The goals are there. Haaland's been sensational, the goals that he's got. The problem for Manchester City that was massive today was how easy they are now to counter-attack and get at. And maybe that's because they've got a fellow who plays right up front. He's maybe not in that midfield position to actually stop a counter-attack. It's far easier to get at Manchester City now, as we saw today, and that's the big problem.
I'll let you speak.
There's what you're referring to is a centre-forward coming off the centre-back, spinning up on the halfway line, spinning a long ball over the top. What I'm talking about, and he won't get that at City, he'll never get that at City, because that's not how they play. But you can't say you've got a striker with his movement, his aggression, his timing, his football intelligence, that he can't get goals in this team. I'm not blaming him in the slightest. I'm blaming the two wide players and midfield players who take too many touches and are not giving him it as quick and as accurate as he wants. These players are more than capable of doing it.
You've played in teams, so you won numerous titles, and you've got a way of going, a way of playing, a way that you do things at Liverpool, and then you bring a player in. How does it work in terms of who has to adapt more? So I'm not being critical of anyone. Haaland's done his job. Man City have won 4 titles in 5 years doing a certain way. Who should be adapting more to who? Who should be changing for who?
I think he's got 25 goals already. If I was at Man City, I'd be saying to the manager, let's utilise him. Let's use him to his best of his ability. Right now, they're not getting the ball in early enough. Ask any striker, ask any of the strikers that played today, any striker you'd ever meet, what do you want? I want it quick and early. You know, you hear stories about strikers complaining all the time. The ball goes wide, they make a run. The guy threatens to cross it, and he pulls out. So the centre-forward comes out. Then he goes down again, he threatens, and they go again, he doesn't cross it. They go mad with that. Haaland is the best in the world of his type of centre-forward. But they're not utilising it.
I think it's a bit of both.
Trying to score the perfect goal. He scored 25 goals. At times, I played in a team where we were regarded as the passing team, and we were accused all the time of trying to... Only when we lost or drew by the staff. We were accused all the time of trying to score the perfect goal. If you watch Man City play, that is the accusation you'd make against them. They're trying to score the perfect goal all the time. When you've got someone with assets that Haaland has, use them. He's got 25 goals already.
I want to ask you in a moment what this all means in terms of the bigger picture and the wider context for Manchester City moving forward, because we're going to hear from Pep Guardiola.
Yeah. You make me proud.
Oh, thank you.
Antonio Conte with the strength as he recovers from his gallbladder surgery to call Harry Kane his record breaker and tell him that he makes him proud. He makes every Spurs fan proud as well. Let's put it all in context then. 267 goals in a Spurs shirt for Harry Kane. One clear of the great Jimmy Greaves, some fabulous names there, Bobby Smith, Martin Chivers and Cliff Jones, but Harry Kane tops the lot now. What an extraordinary achievement. Here's the breakdown. Yes, he is predominantly a right-foot goal scorer, but he's an all-rounder. He's got 51 with his left foot, 49 with his head. Interesting that it doesn't matter if he's playing at home or away, he is equally deadly, but inside the box, he has the biggest impact, as we know. I suppose the one surprise there, he's only ever scored for someone who strikes the ball so well, just one direct free kick out of all those goals.
What's the other?
Well, that could be any other part of the body, Micah, so use your imagination there, probably, in those two. It doesn't matter, but I tell you what, Harry Kane was claiming it. He's very good at that. Where are we putting him now, in the pantheon of greats?
I've said this before. we've waxed lyrical about Harry Kane probably the last 10 years since he come onto the scene getting goals. There's something about, whether it's supporters maybe from other clubs, whether it's tribalism, whether it's the fact he hasn't won a trophy, that it feels to me at times people are a little bit reluctant to put him alongside maybe an Alan Shearer. If you say to someone who's better, Alan Shearer or Harry Kane, or maybe a Gary Lineker or a Wayne Rooney, it always feels to me that Harry Kane never gets put above any of them. I don't know why. Because for me, I think the argument you can make for Harry Kane ahead of maybe those three players I've mentioned is that Wayne Rooney could play up front and drop off, but you wouldn't class him. I know he's got lots of goals, but as an out-and-out goal scorer, the way you would at a Shearer and a Lineker. It feels to me that Harry Kane is the only one who could really do both, where you class him as an out-and-out goal scorer, and the longer his career's gone on, he's come into that deeper role, and actually he's a playmaker. The passes he plays, I've said before, he's the best passer in the England team. He's one of the best passers, probably alongside Kevin De Bruyne, in the Premier League right now. And I don't think I've ever seen that from someone who's got so many goals in the past. And people, again, maybe question but the trophy side of it. But Alan Shearer only won one trophy. I think Gary Lineker only won one trophy in English football, if I'm right, an FA Cup with Tottenham. So I don't know why, but for me, he has got to go alongside these players that I'm talking about. And at the end of his career, I think I'd be putting him above them.
Well, there's another milestone he's hit today as well, because he's reached goal 200 in Premier League football this afternoon with that strike. He's got some way to go still to catch Alan Shearer on 260, but Wayne Rooney, the only other player to make it past the double century mark. He's only 8 behind him now, and potentially he could even go past him this season. He's got 17 now for this campaign. That's, 3 strong seasons to get past Alan Shearer?
Yeah, I think, if you think of... There's only 2 positions on the pitch where it's a black and white. You played so many games, you scored so many goals, or you've played so many games if you're a goalkeeper, you've got so many... That's the harsh realities of being a goalkeeper or a striker. I think stats will dictate how his legacy is looked at. For me, he's already up there with other guys. I mean, Alan Shearer, for me, was the best English striker. And personally, because I've worked with him, I think I may still think that, even if Harry passes it. Harry said something about 5 years ago, and it sort of took me back. He saw himself more as a Glenn Hoddle type of player. And I thought, that's strange, given he's a goal scorer. But you can see what he's thinking, you can see why he said it, because he's got this tremendous gift. He sees a picture, and he's a lovely striker of the ball. He can deliver on what he sees. He's just a really, really... No, he's not. He's a great footballer.
He's also hugely popular in the dressing room as well, as you can see. So he's number 3 in the Premier League all-time. But if we open up the context a little bit wider...
How far are we going back here?
Well, we're going back to the end of the Second World War. So since then, he's only got this lot to beat. But he's got some way to go. And then you put Jimmy Greaves in context. No, extraordinary, isn't it?
Take Jimmy out of it. He ain't catching him. Take him out of it.
He's head and shoulders, isn't he? Still Jimmy Greaves above the rest. But some fantastic names up there. Alan Shearer up there, Nat Lofthouse, Ian Rush, David, Tony Cottee is probably surprising 1 or 2 people up there. The great Jeff Hurst, Ronnie Allen, Wayne Rooney and Dennis Law. And bit by bit, he's catching them. Just in terms of that legacy bit, Micah, I know you're fiercely proud of the fact that you were a Premier League title winner, and rightly so. People always say that Harry Kane needs to win titles to confirm his greatness. But are those numbers not his legacy? Is this not going to be his legacy?
He's already made his legacy.
He's breaking records.
The numbers are there for everyone to see. I think it is tough because his loyalty's almost gone against him a little bit. When Spurs, they're fighting for the Champions League, he's always been a top player. We've been saying it for years, but a lot of people will say, well, show us your trophies at the end of your career.
Who says that?
Everyone says that. You've not shut up about trophies for how long have we been doing Sky? 3 years.
You bring them in your bag every week.
I told you, when you get beyond 25, you stop counting. Sorry.
Wow, no, but he's a top player. I mean, he might still win something with Spurs. He could
perhaps an FA Cup this year. They're still
in
in the Champions League.
Could win the FA Cup. So let's not write him off. We have to judge him on his goals. I don't think personally he's as good as Rooney or Alan Shearer?
OK, I said before he back, and I've got no problem with that. Football is opinions. But give me the argument why not.
Because when Rooney came on the scene, he was doing things a lot of players...
Is it because you work with Alan Shearer?
No, it's nothing to do with that. Alan Shearer he was scoring goals for fun. 35 goals.
OK.
Yeah, but he's going
to score more goals than in the Premier League. Or he's going to get there or thereabouts. There's not going to be a lot in it. So when you're saying Shearer scored more goals, I love Alan Shearer, one of the greatest.
OK.
But it's an opinion. Making me an argument. Why should Harry Kane
who's
not
my favourite player?
Who's
my favourite player of all time? I would say, the greatest striker of all time. I would say R9. But Ronaldo's numbers and Messi's numbers are different.
Get back to Alan Shearer.
Yeah, it is. So Alan Shearer, in terms of what he did and...
That's what he's doing.
Yeah, but when I watched Alan Shearer, the way you score all the different type of goals, I just prefer Alan Shearer as a striker. In terms of dropping off and doing the passes and getting assists, all-round game, I'm talking about goal scorer, I just liked Alan Shearer.
Who would you rather play against? Alan Shearer is best or Harry Kane right now? And how about you?
Well, the different type of players, what I'd say is you'd be up against Shearer, wouldn't you? You'd be up against him physically.
Who do you think you'd have more joy against?
I don't know.
See, I think Alan Shearer bullied people.
Yeah,
I think he was more up for it. Come on then, if you want it that way. Where Harry's maybe a little bit cuter, but
the thing about what I find fascinating about Harry Kane is that every striker we've all played with, naturally as they get older, they drop deeper because they don't have the pace or the physicality to hit defenders, what you're talking about in terms of like a Shearer or someone playing right up front. So they come deeper naturally for the ball. But his goal scoring record, and normally the goals get less as they get older because of that reason. Harry Kane's still getting the same amount of goals and he's coming deeper and getting on the ball and playing. That's what I feel will elevate him with other strikers because he's doing things that I've never seen a centre-forward do before and still score goals. I can't quite get my head around it. He's still got the numbers.
He did that, goals and assists, didn't he?
And that's why he was
do you know what I mean?
You see him as the best Premier League player we've ever seen.
Yeah, that's...
You know what they have in common?
That's the point.
You know what they have in common? Lovely strikers of the ball. Clean, like no back left, bang, without any effort.
And there are more records that Harry Kane could break very soon. By the end of March, he might be England's all-time record scorer as well. Wayne Rooney is level with him right now, 53. Harry only needs one to surpass him.
So hang on, can we wait? So he's going to end up being the top goal scorer for England. He's going to end up being top goal scorer in the Premier League.
It's got a long way to get to Jimmy Greaves.
And still no one puts him above.
So do you think Jamie, let me ask you this, because this is...
Go back to that.
We could all have opinions on this.
Look at the defenders. Back in your day, look at all the top defenders there were in your time. The defenders nowadays have not got a patch on them. Do you know what I mean? So it was harder for strikers back in the day to score, in my opinion. I don't think the defending is as good nowadays. There's not really an art to defending. And the defending now is coming out with the ball, getting into spaces.
Is that Shearer in your ear there or something?
Nicking things, trying to nick things now rather than smashing people.
We can't take stuff away from Harry Kane because now we're on defenders.
Jamie, let me ask you this, because this is just your opinion and his opinion. We're going back and forth. When he breaks the England record, if he surpasses Alan Shearer, do you think he's going to retire and reflect on, I wish I'd left and won trophies somewhere else?
Listen, Spurs fans will be watching this and you don't like to so upset them, but of course a player at the end of the day wants us win as much as they possibly can. But if you're asking me about his legacy in terms of goals and what he's done, he'll have wanted trophies alongside that, of course, but I can assure you there's lots of players out there who've won lots of trophies who are very, very lucky. The players they played with, the clubs they were at, the time and the manager that they had. And I'm talking about every top club who's won trophies. He is a player who will be remembered for a very, very long time because of that record, Premier League, if he gets there. England record as well. He'll have wanted trophies to go alongside it. But sometimes there's something really special about a player playing for sort of being that man, that club. We think about Harry Kane and you think about him in that shirt. And if he could go down, I think he will, as the greatest Tottenham player of all time, the record Premier League goal scorer of all time, the England goal scorer of all time. Do you think he'd swap that for an FA Cup medal? Or a Carabao Cup medal? I don't think he would.
Not a chance, he won't miss them, with all due respect to those trophies, but you'd miss having a Champions League.
But he's not going to win that at Tottenham.
Or a Premier League. Well,
came close.
Or a Premier League.
I know he lost.
Listen, with this manager, if they get behind him and give him enough support, you never know. But he will. He's not going to look back and think, I missed out on a Carabao Cup.
That's what's going to win at Tottenham.
But if he was to, if he ends up with no leagues, no Champions League, and he will look at players who've got.
He's got the cards
several
now,
of them.
hasn't he? He's got the cards now. He's got 18 months left on his deal. When there was all the talk of the move to Manchester
There's no
City,
guarantee
there was
wherever
3
he
years.
goes where he's going to win that. There's no guarantee.
But do you think his head will be thinking, right, now I've broken this record, I want to go and challenge
we can't
for the
second
biggest
guess.
titles?
All I can tell you is he will look back on his career if he doesn't end up winning the big trophies and looking at people in the future, watching a European Cup final, Champions League final and seeing players who are never in his league and never will be in his league winning trophies, he'll go, maybe I should have done it. Maybe I should have moved.
I agree.
Thank you.
You think he should have moved?
I mean, now he's got the record. I'm not even doing that. That's a Spurs fan. Let's enjoy his moment now. Let's not make headlines. He's a top player. I just preferred Alan Shearer to him, and that was it.
And follow it to get a win today. Did you feel you did that?
Yeah, most of the time, yeah. But it's not easy when some players defend back and they set back a little bit more than we play in Etihad 2 weeks ago. And yeah, we play good, start really well, and we miss maybe the last pass in the final third or the shoot. But in general, yeah.
Also, as well, tactically, you left out Kevin De Bruyne to start with. You brought him into the game. What were you looking him to do when he came on? What were you looking to him to change?
For the last pass, for if we found them behind the lines, and the second half was more difficult, he can, make one of these actions, and yeah, that was the reason why.
Does it almost feel that Tottenham is just one of those teams, for whatever reason, you never get any joy? I mean, not a goal here, nothing.
Yeah, you're right. Sooner or later it's going to change. So, but it's right. It's strange we didn't score never one goal when normally we have a team who can create. We create the chances. We missed penalties in the past. Today the chances we had, and they have a good keeper. And yeah. To find explanation for that is not easy.
Was one of the problems, as you say, that final ball between midfield and the front players? Was that not your normal standard today?
No, we did it. We find the positions. We make 2 or 3 balls to the channels good, and after we miss maybe the last action for our people up front.
Completely different game, of course, but having come back at the Etihad last week, was your message to players at half-time, look, we've done it before, we can turn it around, or are we already sensing this is a completely different scenario?
I don't believe in these messages. What happened, this interview, tomorrow going to repeat will be completely different. So every situation is different. So you were good and we had the chance at the end, but we started with the problems after the game was a stop, and we could not score.
Of course, it is a missed opportunity with Arsenal having lost yesterday. But how much, if you like, consolation or confidence do you draw from the fact, A, there is still a lot of football to play, and also you've been champions 4 times out of the last 5 years, and you and many of this group of players have been in this position before, and you can hunt down the leaders.
But we are not in the position to think about to be champions, to think the position to say, okay, what's next game, Aston Villa, and after try to we have a long way, we're going to prepare well, and we're going to play our game as best as possible. So against that team, it happened many times. So Tottenham has a fantastic squad and team, manager, and they punish you. So every time I had the feeling when we arrive here, they don't need much to beat us. The last times we came and we monopolized the games, we found the spaces, we create chances, but we lose. It's because they have up front, they have a lot of quality, and they don't need much, good transitions, good set pieces, and it's a complete team. It's a Champions League team, and I give a lot of credit to them, who they are. So I don't say that we cannot lose against them, but I had the feelings all the time the same. So against these stages, it happened 2 weeks ago. Give the goals is difficult. It's it's not easy, and it's more complicated.
Remember, this is a manager that we saw raging in victory against Spurs 2.5 weeks ago, and tonight a much quieter, perhaps even slightly dejected figure. Do you think right now, Mike, that this group, this City group, is capable of putting the kind of run of results together that's going to stop Arsenal winning the title? I
would say yes, just because of, previous seasons, they've managed to do that. We have to admit there's something not really right. When Cancelo's allowed to go, De Bruyne's not starting, seems to be playing players on sort of form and fitness. Don't forget we had a World Cup right in the middle of the season, and at this moment in time, it's just not clicking. If you ask me, can they change that? Of course they can, because they've done it before. The problem is now, other teams are doing well. Newcastle are doing well. Spurs are picking up points. Man United are picking up points as well. So it might not just become a two-horse race. Man United might be looking at it and thinking, OK, Man City and Arsenal have got to play each other twice. Can we pick up some points?
But when you've got that quality, you're not concerned about anybody else. It's just about what you do. They could easily go on a run. Now, whether that's, because we've been in football and you become quite pragmatic. You know the quality of the players they have. You know what they've done in the last 5-6 seasons. Of course they could put a run together. But if you'd asked me after the World Cup, I thought it was only a matter of time before Liverpool were going to get back up there. And they were going to go on a fantastic run. So, there is still time for them. There is, you're correct, I think, in saying there's something not quite right. When Jeff asked Pep, you introduced De Bruyne in the second half, what was it you're looking for? That final pass. That was missing. All game, that was missing. Yeah, they had lots of possession. They got up to Tottenham's 18-yard line and met a brick wall. Now, that was a bit of Tottenham defending really well. There was a bit of them not having that killer pass. De Bruyne is the best in the world at delivering a killer pass.
Mike is telling us his confidence on that run of results potentially coming is based on what they've done before. But is this not a different City group? Joao Cancelo is the 5th player to leave this Manchester City team. The 5 players that featured in the final day of last season against Aston Villa, now gone. Should we actually be thinking about Manchester City as a team in some kind of transition right now?
Yeah, I think that's fair. We've spoken about the fact they're now playing with an out-and-out centre-forward. I think me and Gary mentioned on commentary the actual profile of the wide players, and I thought Jack Grealish did well today. He was the one who took the fight to Tottenham, but it's completely different to what they had in terms of sort of Raheem Sterling, Leroy Sané. So when you're watching Man City, certainly today, and lots of games I've watched them, everybody's coming to the ball. Even you think of a Pep Guardiola team, yeah, everyone's technically really good, but they've always had that penetration in behind. Now, they've got it with Haaland, but they're not using it enough. But they've normally had it from the wide area as well. Even his great Barcelona team had Thierry Henry, David Villa in those positions, making runs in behind. You don't see that. Everyone's just coming towards the ball, keeping the ball. It's very slow, sort of a little bit predictable, and not the same of what we've seen from Manchester City. And a lot of that, I think, is the actual profile of the players, certainly they've got in wide positions. Now, but as you said, teams do change, teams evolve. They can't always be exactly the same. And you know what? You can't win the league every year. We've seen that with the great teams of the past sometimes. Arsenal had a brilliant sort of 21 games up until now. City are not quite at the best through players coming and going. And maybe it's one of those seasons where you don't win the league.
Does that hunger as well potentially disappear? We heard Pep Guardiola talking a couple of weeks ago after that, the game at City, about Arsenal, the fact they haven't won it for 20 years. They're going to be motivated.
But Dave, you came out with a stat. The first question you asked there, the 5 people have left. You hear that being trotted out on a regular basis, that, you've got to refresh the group all the time. Well, I don't believe that. You refresh it to strengthen it. When you're in a position of power, you should be cherry-picking 2 or 3 players that join you every year that you hope will become great players in your team. You're not under pressure, you're buying in a position of strength. So City are very much in that situation. I don't believe... I played with players who never lost their hunger. For whatever reason, as you said, you can't win the league every year, but the odd year you wouldn't win it, and then you rebound back. I don't believe they've lost their hunger. I don't know. There's something fundamentally not right when you're not starting with your strongest 11 today. You look at the 2 centre-backs don't start today. Young boy Lewis, I don't want to say it, but ultimately, went to sleep at a vital time, and that's where the goal came from. Not blaming him totally for it. I think it was more Rodrigo. But you got this. This was a difficult game today. They don't generally do well here. And had a chance to plant the seed because of Arsenal's result yesterday, and they've blown it. And I come back to, you start with your strongest team unless they're not fit. Didn't do that.
Phone? No.
Is it Alan Shearer?
Surely that's a fine Graham.
He texted me before. He texted me before.
He's not texted me. Don't really. That's a fine Graham.
So
that was my son.
Back into the room. Manchester City have been beaten here. Arsenal beaten yesterday. How do you see it now, Jamie? Any differing thoughts on where this title is heading?
No, I mean, I think there's so long to go. Neither team has to panic. I don't think Arsenal should on the back of this game. the record at Goodison, and also Man City's record here is not great. There'll be a lot of ups and downs now. I mean, I just slightly feel with the edge with Arsenal, because I actually think they've been the most impressive team up until now. I know there's a long way to go, and we keep expecting City to get back to where they were, but it just feels like you're waiting week after week. I felt like today was going to be that. They come here, you know, put the pressure on Arsenal. Arsenal lost yesterday, and we'd see the real City. And it just doesn't feel like we've seen it for a long time. And I think Pep Guardiola right now is probably not so much thinking about the title. He just almost wants his team back. The way they play, the way they used to be, the way they dominate games. And at the moment, I think he's thinking, no, I need to get my team back before we can think about chasing down Arsenal. But listen, the 2 games against Arsenal are going to obviously play a huge role. But I just fancy Arsenal.
Won't it just feel like a big advantage now for Arsenal, given what's happened over the last 48 hours? That, you know, the disappointment and heartache for them losing and then to see City dropping points.
When you're in a title challenge and players will play it down, you're watching every single game, you're looking at the table every single week. So them Arsenal players will be absolutely buzzing. That will give them the confidence, because Arsenal didn't do much wrong yesterday. Everton managed to get the victory, but they had a few chances. They knocked on the door. It wasn't their greatest performance, but it was only a 1-0 victory in the end. Coming here, obviously, you're expecting Man City to get probably a point. So that'll give him the world of confidence going forward now.